Welcome back to Have Faith, Show Love, Give Hope, the podcast. Today I have Ashley Spitler. Ashley, our friend Laura Edgell introduced us through a messaging, and she said that you are an amazing person, and she wanted me to have you on so we can get to know each other. And I think Laura's amazing, and that you guys met at a. Tell me a little bit about how you met Laura.
Yeah, so the Toledo City paper has a contest called Single in the Glass City, and it's like looking for Toledo's most eligible bachelor and bachelorette. And we were both nominated and selected as candidates last year. And before the contest started, we actually had a mutual friend that we both knew who was also in the contest that we knew before the contest. And so when I saw her profile, I was intimidated because she's
Mm.
so beautiful and so successful
Yeah.
but my friend Eric's like, "Oh my gosh, Laura Edgell, she's so amazing. She's down to earth." And I'm like, "Really?" Like she looks so scary, like so intimidating.
Mm.
So I sent her a message just to introduce myself before we met, and she immediately sent me a voice memo back and was like, "Hi beautiful, it's so nice to meet you." And I
Mm.
could just like feel that warmth in her voice that I'm like, "She's amazing. I
Yeah.
love her." And then when we met, it was like we were just instant friends.
Yeah. She's actually said that when I asked her on the podcast about her experience there. She said that it was wonderful, whatever, whatever. But like the main thing was she met you, and you guys have actually had a really good friendship ever since then, right?
We have, and everyone that was in that contest was amazing. Just a really good group of people. But we just were like the same person,
Oh.
except I'm like the curly blonde version. So
Yeah, that's so awesome. That's really good, and that's cool because like the more people we meet, that's how we ended up meeting, and it's just like it creates this like system of like everybody's meeting everybody, and we're doing all these local shows and podcasts, and actually it's all like interweaving with each other, and it's amazing.
yeah,
Um, okay, so tell me a little bit about you. I want to kind of. I always I always start the podcast with kind of learning about the person a little bit. And then I also have some questions that that I want to ask you because I was like looking at your social media and stuff like that. Okay. So tell me a
sure.
little bit about you.
Yeah. So I'm 41 years old. I am a mother of two. I have a daughter who's 13 and a son who is 9. Um, Born and raised in Toledo, born
Okay.
right here at Toledo Hospital.
Okay.
I actually was raised in Millbury, which is a suburb out on the east side.
Mm.
So I come from a small town and went away to college. I went to the Ohio State University
Oh, wow.
and I just fell in love with like city life. And so my whole family's kind of out in the suburbs and I'm still in the city, in
Hmm.
Toledo, of course. And I just love the city and kind of some significant things, just bullet points. My
Hmm.
parents divorced when I was 9. And so I'm a child of divorce. And so I kind of have that perspective as I go through life. I am a middle child. And
Hmm.
so my family sees me as like, the joke is like constantly needing attention. And I'm like, it's not my family, or it's not my fault that my family didn't love me, which they love me, I think.
Yeah.
um, but then, after college, I got married and divorced about 8.5 years ago. And so
Mm.
I kind of offer this perspective as I go through life of a child of divorce who has parents who now get along, and also a divorced parent who co-parents well, and I get
Mm.
along with my ex. And so those are kind of really significant points in my life because I think that as people go through life, they stay in situations that aren't good for them because they're afraid of what's on the other side.
Mm.
And I've seen what's on the other side as a child and as, a parent, and it can be really beautiful. So
Mhm.
those are kind of like some highlights.
Yeah. And then you grew up with, you said you're the middle child. So you have two other brothers and sisters or what?
Yeah, I have a sister who's 3 years older than me, a sister who is 7 years younger than me.
Mm.
And then I also have step siblings. And so I've got a brother who's a year younger than me, a sister who's 2 years older than me, and then another sister who's a year older than me, but she lives out of state. So I don't get to see her as
Oh,
much.
okay. So your
So
family's like kind of like a Brady Bunch.
yeah. Yep.
Everybody's, but okay. So your father must have had, or your father or mother must have had kids after the the
So
divorce, right? They had other kids or
no,
before?
they're step siblings, and so my mom remarried
Mm.
um a couple years after her and my dad split, and he had
Oh, he
his
had
own
kids.
children.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but they've been in our lives since I was 9.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're my
They're
brothers
like
and
brothers and
sisters.
sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like I some people say that like half brothers, that's but it's like God, we just all like we're all brothers and sisters.
Yeah. The only difference is when we hang out with dad, they're not there. When we hang
Uh
out with mom, they're all
they're
there,
all there.
So
Okay, that's awesome. And then okay, so like how did you grow up? Like what is something like somebody would say about you when you were growing up? Like you're like the person you were like in high school or something.
they would say that I like to talk.
Oh yeah.
um no, I've always been opinionated, honestly, and it's something that I've, like, I don't even want to say worked on, because I
Hmm.
didn't work on becoming less opinionated. I just became less opinionated. I still have some opinions about things,
Hmm.
but I used to just think my way was the right way.
Hmm.
And my mom always joked that I should grow up and be a lawyer because I liked to argue. And I'm
Hmm.
like, it's not that I like to argue, it's just that my opinion is right and I want everyone to know, was
Yeah.
like the perspective back then. And I've very much shifted to, there are lots of opinions and there is space for all of the opinions. So at the end of the day, the question is, are we leaving space for everyone's opinions? And when people don't leave space for everyone's opinions, that's when I get opinionated. And that's
Mm.
when I go, no, like your way is not the only like right way. Like you have to let other people,
Okay.
live their truth. And so, um, but I think generally speaking, I've always been very talkative, very bubbly, very outgoing. And I really like to befriend people who are maybe the outcast or maybe don't have, the new person, or they don't have a lot of
Hmm.
friends.
Which is very understandable. You like to give everyone their space to have their voice, so their voice is heard.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you feel like someone's threatening that, you're like, hey, 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 let their voice be heard,
Yes.
which is good. What did you go to college for when you went to Ohio State?
So I got my degree in strategic communication. And so the thought was that I would go into, well, with communications, you can do pretty much anything. And I liked that. But my goal was to go into radio. And I
Mm.
actually did. I worked for Yes FM, which is the Christian radio station here in town.
Wow.
I was there for 5 years. It was my full time job. I thought it would be my career. Um, but I got burnt out and I moved to an insurance company just to kind of get health insurance and, make a little more money. I was pregnant at the time and my husband was going back to school. And so we wanted something that kind of paid better. Um, and it was just supposed to be like, I don't care about insurance, quote unquote. This is
Mm.
just till I find something I like. And now I've been there 13 and a half
Wow.
years. So
So that's what you do, insurance?
yeah, I do. I
Oh.
don't sell insurance. I just work for the insurance company, and
Oh, okay.
I'm a supervisor. I oversee a team of call center agents, and they call our Medicare Advantage members to make sure they understand about their benefits and they know about, free money that's on the table for them,
Ah.
and see if they have any outstanding issues and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. How about the radio station? You worked for a radio station. That's kind of interesting to me because
Mhm.
the podcast and so but it was a Christian. So that even
Yeah.
so, are you a Christian? Or
Um,
were you at that time?
Yeah, I was and I am, but
Mm,
I'm not a Christian the way that a lot of people today define a
okay.
Christian.
You have your
So,
own ways, and me too.
yeah.
I kind of am the same way a little bit. Go ahead. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about that for me because I feel like I'm different. I'm not the going to church, but you see that I have my podcast, Have Faith, Show
Yeah.
Love, Give Hope. I believe in Jesus Christ, but I believe in reading about Jesus and like following His ways, being loving, caring, respectful. But I don't try to like force feed anybody
Yeah.
anything, and I just want to be a loving person.
Yeah.
Is that somewhat similar to like something like that or what?
Yeah. So I wasn't raised going to church. And when I found like Jesus, I found him on my own. I actually started listening to, way back when I was 13. Gosh, that's my daughter's age.
Hmm.
And I started listening to Sanctus Real. and they are a local Christian band, and they've now been Grammy nominated, and they've won countless Dove Awards, and they've gone platinum. Like they're huge now,
Wow. And from
but
Toledo?
they're from Toledo.
Oh
And back
wow.
then, they were just like high schoolers, and I was just a junior high teeny bopper, and I just thought it was cool that I could go to a show and they knew who I was.
Yeah.
But they would talk about Jesus all the time, and I eventually started going to church, and eventually started kind of making changes to my life, and eventually, gave my life to God.
Mhm.
But as I've gotten older and gone through different experiences and seen kind of how the church treats people and certain groups of people and certain types of people,
Mhm.
it's really just kind of shaped me to say, like, at times I don't want to say I'm a Christian because I'm ashamed of what I see a lot of Christians,
Mhm.
people who call themselves Christians, doing and acting and saying.
Yes.
Um, but I love Jesus, and I want to treat people the way that Jesus did.
Mhm.
And what he did was he reached out to the outcast, and he looked at who are the people that the religious people of my time hate. And in that time, it was prostitutes and tax collectors and
Mhm.
thieves. And he said, those are the people that I'm going to spend time with, and I'm going to get to know,
Yeah.
and I'm going to pour into, and I'm going to show them love and compassion. And so I look at our world today, and I think in America, those people would be the LGBTQ plus community for
Mhm.
sure. And I just see so much condemnation and so much hate toward them. And I'm like, those are the people that Jesus would be dining with
Mhm.
and sharing his life with. And so um, I'm a Christian, but I have become an ally for that community as
Mhm.
well. And some people say those things cannot coexist, but they definitely can.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of friends in that community who also love Jesus. And
Mhm.
so, and I don't mean that like, I'm not trying to criticize people for having the beliefs that they have.
Yeah.
I just know what my faith looks like to me.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's something where I used to be way over here,
Mhm.
and God has shaped my heart over time. And now I'm like way over here.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful because we're supposed to be loving and caring and respecting everybody.
Mhm.
And once we close the door on certain people, then that's when God, that's like closing the door on God.
Yeah.
And I believe the same thing. I like to go to church sometimes, but also when I go to church sometimes I feel like a lot of the teachings aren't uh, the exact teachings that I read when I read the Bible, and certain things that go on in the church are not exactly the way that I want to even show my kids or show my wife the way that the way that I live. I work hard for everything I have, and I struggle a lot to get everything I want. So sometimes I don't like certain things. So I feel the same way. I follow Jesus and I show love and respect to everybody. And then what I do on my podcast, I sit with all types of different
Yep.
people, from workout people to business owners to the other day candidate for mayor. Um, I think it's like important to give a seat to anybody to make sure like their voice is heard. It doesn't matter who they are. I think it's really important. So yeah, I just once you said Christian radio, I was like, man, that's interesting because I also wondered, are all the people that work in Christian radio Christian, or do they really believe in God? And I
At
didn't know.
that station, they were.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think, I think, I guess I can't say across the board, but I know for the two local stations, everyone that works at the stations, at least in like a full-time basis,
Hmm.
is very much like church attending, Bible reading, Christian.
Okay.
So, and they have kind of standards for who they allow to work there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty interesting.
Mhm.
And also I think it's important to follow Jesus. Doesn't mean you have to call yourself a Christian. You don't have to. You follow Jesus, follow his ways. His teachings are more important than anything else. If you learn his ways with your heart, it all starts right here.
Mhm.
You love yourself, then you show love to the other people, and that's all that really matters is from love. I think I don't know, faith in him, believe in him, have love, and then like my thing, and give people hope by us having a conversation. I don't
Yeah.
know. All right, So we talked about what you do for work. So your insurance, you sell insurance, right?
I don't
Or
sell
you don't sell
insurance,
insurance
but I work for the
for the
insurance company,
insurance. Okay,
yes.
so tell me a typical day. A typical day when you wake up, what do you do? Do you guys hit the do you hit the gym? What's your typical day?
Well, I do now.
Okay.
So my typical day varies based on whether or not I have my kids in the morning.
Okay.
If I've got the kids in the morning, I'm getting them off to school, and then I'm coming home and getting ready for my day. I work from home,
Mm-hmm.
and so I get to, you know, I get to be alone,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't love to be alone all the time, but it's really made me enjoy my home and take advantage of when I do go out, like because I don't have to get ready every day. I don't have to put on makeup. I wear leggings every day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I'm out, I like appreciate it more.
Okay.
But when I don't have my kids, I get up and I go to the gym. I'm actually working with Laura
Mm-hmm.
Edgell.
Okay.
She has Uplift with Laura, where she does personal training and virtual like program. And so she
Yeah.
has me on a food and an exercise program,
Okay.
and we're doing a personal training once a month and taking my weight and my measurements and all that kind of stuff. So I just started working out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not really a gym person, but I'm becoming a gym person because I've got a great person kind of teaching me the ropes
Mm-hmm.
on what I'm doing wrong and what I need to change. Um, but typically, I get off work at 5. And then if I've got the kids, I pick them up and we make a home cooked meal almost every night. I try to do healthy
Mm-hmm.
veggies, lean meats, salad, grill out, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have the kids, I'm usually out doing something with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm either hanging out with my friends or I'm running errands or I'm actually in 2 bands. And so sometimes I've got band practice or sometimes we've got midweek gigs. And so I keep really busy.
Okay, so tell me about that. Tell me, you play for two bands.
I
What
do.
are you? You play an instrument, or you're a singer, or what?
Yeah, I play the drums
Okay.
and I do a little bit of backup vocals, but I'm not like a strong vocalist. I just can kind of harmonize here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so my first band is called Pop's Garage, and we are a top 40 dance party band.
Okay.
And so we've been around about 7.5 years. And I started Pop's Garage because I'd gone through my divorce and I was living at home with my dad. I was supposed to be saving money, but I was blowing it all the weekends I didn't have my kids. I was
Yeah.
like going out and having drinks and having a
Yeah.
good time. And it's like, where'd all my money go? So, I've been a musician for years and I thought, I've watched my dad in bands and I'm
Mm.
like, well, if he can be in bands making money, maybe I could do that. So I started the
So
band.
you started
I
the band.
started it.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
And it's great because I get to basically make my own schedule. Um, and I get to do something that's really fun that I would do for free anyway. And I
Mm.
get to get paid for it. And I get to hang out with awesome, talented people
Yeah.
who I genuinely enjoy being around. They're super down to earth.
So you got to pick who's on your band, or how did that
Yeah.
happen?
So I just posted on Facebook, and somebody that I worked with at Yes FM actually joined me as the first band member on bass. And then we brought in my cousin on vocals. Um, and then someone I went to high school with is married to my current lead singer. And so
Mm.
I met him through her. And then our other lead singer ended up leaving. We brought in another singer. I missed Jessica, my keyboard player. She was
Mm.
one of the first people to come in.
Mm.
My former bassist from Yes FM knew her. And so it was just kind
Mm.
of bringing people in, trying it out, seeing if they fit, and getting all the right people in place.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. And then okay, so but what's the second one?
So the second one is called North of Nashville, and we are a country band. And
Oh.
it really was because I wanted Pop's Garage to do some of like the bangers, like Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy, and Before
Mm.
He Cheats and stuff. And the Pop's Garage people just did not like country.
Uh-huh.
And so I started a country band. And so um, we've got 6 people in that band and a couple people from other bands and just a super talented group of people. So we don't play nearly as much. Pop's Garage is like maybe between 3 and 5 times a month. North of
Mm.
Nashville is like once every month or two. So
Okay.
we get busier in the summer, but it's kind of a side project for everybody because of
Yeah.
our other bands and our other jobs.
Okay. That's cool, man. I mean, I've met people in bands and stuff, but to start two bands Like you started two
I
bands.
did. But
Wow. You
like,
but like this was like in your blood though? Like
yeah.
from your dad?
Well, and I just want to clarify, like I started them, but like I hate, I'm not trying to be down on myself, but
Mhm.
I feel like I'm the weakest link
Oh.
because everybody in these bands is so talented.
Okay, so like it takes a life of its own. Like
Yes.
you started it, but it's like
It was
the whole
it was like my
collaborate.
idea, but like neither band would be what it is without the people that decided to join me on the
Of
journey.
course.
So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it is in my blood. You know, my dad started playing drums when he was 13, and
Mm.
he was in a band with his brothers, and then as he got older, he joined other bands, and he was in a band locally for about 30 years called Bob Worse and Buckeye. And they were like so close to getting their break. They
Mm.
had a song on the charts in New York, and they opened for Alabama in Nashville, like in front of like 80,000 people. It was like they were right there, and
Mhm.
it never happened.
Yeah.
And so he's kept his full-time job all these years, but he actually started his own band years back, and he now has 17 bands. Um,
17
17,
bands.
yep.
Your dad?
Yep. And
What?
so they're all Hey something. There's like
Uh,
Haywire, which is country, Hey Jude, which is a Beatles cover band, Hey Motor City is Motown,
uh,
um, Hey Light is like light acousticy stuff. Like they just there's all these different genres.
okay.
Some people are in multiple bands. Some of them are just, you know, totally unique. They're all unique. But he plays drums in all of them, and he manages all of them.
Okay, so then you market it to everybody, and somebody might hire this country, that somebody might hire you for to this,
Yeah.
which is good because it gives them so many different opportunities, and it keeps them working. So
Yep.
did you have like a little drum set when you were little and stuff like that?
Yeah, so in junior high,
Oh,
my dad gave me his old set, and it was set up in the basement, and that was when I started like learning to play like the full drum kit. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, when I was little, I didn't have like one of those little kid ones. I'm not
mm,
like a drum
okay,
prodigy.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not a bad drummer, but I'm not even like an amazing drummer.
Oh,
There are kids on TikTok who are 5 who are better than me because they just go crazy. And I'm just
yeah,
like, I just keep the beat steady, flip my hair a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. But I'm pretty basic drummer.
Okay.
So
I mean, still amazing thing to do. Most people don't even know how to play the drums at all. Some
that's true.
people just. I remember like being a kid and you get something like that, and your mom's like, "Turn, stop doing that. This makes too much noise or whatever."
Yep.
So yeah. I remember on the movie Brothers. He's like, "Did you touch my drum set?" It's like a whole big scene. Like,
That is a classic scene.
did you touch? He's like, how do you know that? Like his one little thing was like,
Hmm.
he's like, you touched my drum set. It's so funny.
Hmm.
Okay, so I wrote down some like bulletin points and stuff like that I wanted. Okay, so you're really good friends with Laura and then your band members. So
Hmm.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about how important it is to support others and for others to support us during all these things that we do.
Yeah, I honestly think that the purpose of life is to have meaningful connections with other people. And so when I find out people are like hermits who haven't left their house in a week,
Mm.
and they're not on social media, or they don't have a friend that they consistently like text with or talk with, I'm just like, how do you do that? Like
Mm.
I wouldn't know how to function. So yeah, to me, connecting and supporting each other is so important.
Mm.
Um, I have a really tight knit group of friends, and I lean on them for everything. When I go through hard things, I've gone to therapy. I'm not anti therapy,
Mhm.
but I have also talked through things with my friends, and they have basically been my therapist
Yes.
because they're emotionally healthy, they're emotionally mature, they challenge me to think outside the box. Um, when I'm thinking about something a certain way, they might challenge me and say, well, have you thought of this other perspective? Like maybe things aren't the way that you're thinking about them. So my friendships have just been so meaningful, and they've shaped me into who I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. How important is it to have friends that aren't just yes friends, that they're actually like, hold up, that you might be thinking wrong on that. this, and then they explain to you a little bit more. How important is that?
To me, I think that's a real friend. Because if you have somebody like being a cheerleader friend is good because you've got people cheering you on and wanting you to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're only yes friends or cheerleader friends, as I've called them, um, they might cheer you on as you jump off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you might be making some really bad choices, or you might have a mindset that's really unhealthy, and they're just going along with what you say. To me, that's not a real friend. Maybe they feel like they're a real friend because they're
Yeah.
supporting you no matter what. But to me, a real friend says, hey, you know, I'm going to love you and support you no matter what. I know that if you start walking to the edge of that cliff and you choose to jump off, I'm going to do my best to like find a way to run down and catch you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to love you no matter what. But you're about to jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
And can we get you off of it? So to me, it's like let them know you love them and you support them, but also try to get people away from that ledge when they're
Mm.
going down a bad path.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, because a lot of times you'll see your best friend in like a horrible relationship or something, and you're just like, well, she'll figure it out, but or he'll figure it out, but also we need to step up and be like, hey, man, like, there's boundaries, but also if that's really your friend, you have to at least make them aware of it, because not sometimes we get blinded by love or something like that.
Well, and even on the flip side, sometimes your friend will vent to you about something in their relationship and they are in the wrong and their partner's right. And there are people who are going to be like, what? I can't believe he would do that
Yeah, yeah.
when he did something that totally normal and it's being misinterpreted. And it's like your friend might need someone to say, hey, really think about this. Like, why are you really upset about this?
Mhm.
What's really going on? And you might be the person I keep talking about the ledge, but like to talk
Mhm.
them off the ledge and like
Yeah, yeah.
to show them, you know, maybe you shouldn't believe ill intentions of your partner. Maybe you should have a conversation with them. Maybe you should let them know how much that hurt you, instead of just when someone's negative, just feeding into the negativity.
Mm.
Like we can actually offer positivity and offer a fresh perspective because these are people that we care about and we want good things for them.
Yep, yep. And I believe that too. One time told somebody here on the podcast that like this is kind of a different situation, but that negative energy, if you don't really like try to like help them to block it out, that can seep into it, can make you negative about maybe he didn't do nothing. Maybe the boyfriend was like, just trying to be a good guy, but she comes to you with the negative, and then you keep going with the negative. It's like I always say it's like a tea bag. When you drop a tea bag inside, you know how it spreads out and all the color changes in the water.
Yeah.
So it's like that. Like that negative spreads if you don't just like be like, hey man, cut it out. Like we need to figure some. There's a situation here.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So another thing, I looked on your social media. I was going through it, and I love a lot of your uh, content creation. There was one video that you said something about, now that I'm over 40. So I was like, oh, that's cool, because I'm over 40. I'm actually 45. My wife is over 40. Um, what is something that you know now that maybe now that you're over 40, that maybe you can tell let's say like the 30-year-old, something that some kind of information. I seen a video you were talking about that, and it just clicked. I wanted to ask you that kind of question.
Well, it's funny because they teach you this in literally preschool and they teach you to be yourself.
Mm,
And as we get old, we start out being ourselves. And as we get older, we think, well, myself isn't good enough. I need to fit in with these people. So I need to dress this way, or I need to act this way, or listen to this kind of music. And what we find as we get older is that there's these different versions of ourselves based around who we're with. And it's like, okay, well, around these people, I can't be too much. And so I have to pull back because these people will be turned off by that. And we try to fit in circles where we really don't belong. And so instead of leaving the circle and finding our people, we try to change to fit into their circle. And I will never do that again.
mm,
I've done that. I've been like, okay, these people are really cool. These people are really well known and well respected. And so I've got to be in with these people. And so I've got to say the right thing and act the
Mm,
right way and do the whatever. Um, and I find that when you're trying to fit into the wrong circle, you're always going to do the wrong thing.
mm,
Even if you know what the rules are, like to be in that group, you can be on your best behavior and you're going to do something to screw up and you're going to be out.
mm,
And I was like, what did I do? Like it wasn't like there was a circle and I was kicked
mm,
out or anything like that. But you find out through the grapevine that there's animosity with people that you didn't know existed because you
mm,
think everything's good. Um, and I just found like those aren't my people. That's not
mhm.
the circle where I belong. I'm going to stop trying to fit in with people who don't like me for who I am, and I'm just going to find the people that do.
Yeah, that's great advice. Uh, I I think that's amazing advice. So basically, like, m- be you. Don't mold yourself to accommodate this group or that person. Be yourself and find the people that love you for being yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
One time, another thing I thought about was like I have two daughters, so I see them growing up and I see like at one point they're like all this confidence and all this like, little girls, I want to be, no, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then at one point, somewhere like in junior high, you start seeing them more like timid, more like their big dreams get like more lured. And I always thought like, is there a point where we start thinking too much about what other people think about us instead of like, hey man, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna conquer the world, and we start like molding ourselves different because, oh, this guy is gonna or that person is gonna say this or that person is gonna say that, and that little girl with all of these amazing dreams starts like being like, I say girls because of my daughters, but
Hmm.
just like somewhere in high school you start, or junior high or somewhere, you start thinking too much about what people think instead of about what you think. Have you ever
Yeah,
thought about that? Hmm.
absolutely. And I actually saw like an Instagram reel years ago that stuck with me. And the woman in the reel said that she had the opportunity to go into her daughter's school and interview 11-year-old girls. And she also had the opportunity to speak at a conference and interview women in their 60s. And she asked them all, what are the biggest things that you feel insecure about? And all of them, age 11 through 60s, said, am I pretty enough? Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I fat? Do people like me? Do people want to be around me? And she was like, women, we've been carrying these burdens our whole lives. At what point are we going to stop worrying about everyone else's opinions of ourselves? At what point are we going to choose to look in the mirror and say, I am enough. I am beautiful. I love my body and what it has to offer me, and the health that I have, and I am smart. And it doesn't mean like don't improve yourself. It doesn't mean don't go to the gym and try to work hard and be fit, and don't, study and try to learn more. But we're good enough as we are.
Mhm.
And yes, let's keep improving, but it's not because we're not good enough. It's
Mhm.
because we just want to continue to grow as humans. And
Yeah,
so that stuck with me. I was like, oh
yeah,
my gosh.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's like to like affirming yourself. Keep working on yourself, but keep affirming yourself so we don't lose ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask you a little bit about your content creation, but let's take a little break real quick.
Okay.
I just want to check on my phone.
Sure.
All right, so we're back. I wanted to ask you about. So I looked at your content creation, your Instagram, and I seen you make reels and you do like motivational stuff and all that. Can you tell me a little bit about what mindset you went into that and when you started it and all that?
Yeah. I started it just over a year ago. I had 2 years ago, I went through a breakup that was excruciating.
Hmm.
And the next year was kind of trying to navigate in survival mode. And then I had a loss of a friendship, a year after the breakup. And I just felt like there were all these people in my life that I was trying to help, and I was trying to give them advice, and I was trying to say, you need to have healthy boundaries. Like, this person is not good for you, or the way that person's treating you is not fair. Like, you need to stand up for yourself. And um, I felt like I was just talking to a wall. Like, I was wasting all this energy pouring into people who seemed like they wanted to listen, and they were coming to me for advice and doing the opposite. And I was just really exhausted. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start sharing things that I've learned with the world, and the people that are supposed to hear it, that are open to the message, will hear it.
Yep.
And so I started just putting little blurbs on TikTok. And as I am going through life and having conversations with friends and family, and somebody says something that sticks out, I go, oh, that's good. I'm going to do a
Mhm.
TikTok. And I
Mhm.
have like a Google Doc where I write down like whatever is the one liner.
Uh-huh.
And then when I'm in the mood and I have the free time, which isn't very often, um, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go down my list and I'm going to record some of these things and put it out there for the world.
Yep, because the algorithm will take it to the person that needs it. Like
Hmm.
if someone's going through a breakup and there's a breakup video, it'll send it to all the girls that are looking up advice for breaking up.
Yep.
If it's a over 40 video, it'll send it to the moms over 40.
Yep.
A video about kids, it'll send it, especially on TikTok. TikTok is really good with the algorithm. It sends it to certain people. So the
Hmm.
people that need that message they will get it. I think it's really beautiful to do content, as long as I don't believe in the or whatever. People can do content or whatever. I just that the dancing and all that. I'm not into that. I'm into motivational stuff.
Hmm.
I'm into like even like Christian stuff, pastors, working out. I'm really into working out. That's how I met Laura, because I used to be like every day working out and stuff like that. My wife, she does a TikTok. She works out. She does more of a like a she does her life is her content.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really come up with things she's just like every day,
Yeah.
One day she was shopping in a dollar store and she was filming herself, and then the alarm went off because its store was closed, but they forgot to lock the door.
That really happened?
Yeah, that video went super viral. And then she got like 10 million views on that video, but it grew her TikTok to 11,000 followers.
Wow.
So she has like a nice little following and stuff like that. But it was just like an accident. She just records her life, and she had to end up calling the cops on herself. Um my wife would be a good friend to have for you to have, like, cuz like she's really good friends with Laura. She works out sometimes, like sometimes she'll go and work out with her,
Hmm.
but like just how the way you are from
Hmm.
your from our interaction, I could see you being really good friends with my wife. um I think okay, social media is really important for us to teach people, because a lot of people, when I was young, I didn't even know you needed an oil change. I started driving. I just started driving. My dad, my mom, no one explained to me nothing. And then I would blow motors. So, because I didn't know. So if we don't know, we don't know. So it's good to give some advice, especially advice that we have through our experiences of life, and put it out there. That's what
Yeah.
I do with my podcast.
Well, and I love that you brought up like a car example, because I saw a reel. There's this author that I like, Donald Miller.
Mhm,
And he wrote the books. He wrote Blue Like Jazz, and I forget what the other one was. Um, but he put out a reel on Instagram where he said, working on the outside of your body, but not your inner emotional health, is like taking your car to the car wash, but never taking it like for a tune up or when something's
mhm,
broken. And he was like, we put all this energy into our outsides, like eating the right foods so that we can be fit and healthy, and going to the gym and spray tan. Well, I guess it could be men and women, but
mhm,
probably mostly women. Hair extensions, Botox, all of these things for the outside, but we're not doing the inner work to
mhm,
become emotionally healthy, emotionally available people.
mhm,
And just the importance of going to therapy and admitting when you're wrong, being open to learning. And I'm like, when I heard that car analogy, I was like, that is
mhm,
so good. Like,
mhm,
we have to do the inner work. It's not just what people see on the outside, it's who we are on
mhm.
the inside.
That's really important. That's a really good message. I'm gonna actually take that, because uh, I actually always wash my car. I'm gonna flip it though. I always wash my car, but I never clean the inside.
Oh, the but that's because the inside is so much harder to clean.
Yeah, I know. But no, but it's true what you're saying because a lot of people they look really good from the outside, but they're horrible. Their hearts are horrible, or not only that, but maybe they're not doing anything to like better themselves. They're still stuck in that old mindset and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. So, how do you? Okay, so how do you stay motivated every single day?
I am not motivated every single day.
No.
So, um, day by day, it's like you have those days that you just wake up and you're just tired and you're like, I just need to get through the day, right?
Hmm.
Um, when that becomes your everyday is when I feel like it becomes a problem and something needs to change. But I think it's normal to have those days here and there. Like you're really tired or you can't seem to wake up or you're in a funk or you feel kind of down and you're not sure why.
Hmm.
But big picture, I look at what makes me get out of bed on those days, and that's probably what you were asking.
Hmm.
Um, it's, for me, it's knowing that I have purpose. And we may not even know exactly what our purpose is, but I
Right.
believe that every person has purpose.
Yes.
Um, you know, long term, big picture, my purpose is being a mother and raising my children to be empathetic, kind humans. I don't want them to struggle financially, but I don't care if they're ever rich or famous
Hmm.
or do some extravagant job. Like I want them to be kind, empathetic humans with meaningful relationships. That's my goal for my children.
Hmm.
But some days I don't even see my kids.
Yeah.
I get them off to school and then I don't get them back until the next day or until the next Monday. And my purpose is, how can I make an impact in someone's life today? And that might just mean doing a good job at my job. It might mean reaching out to a friend to see how they're doing. Um, it might be, I might have a day that I don't really have the emotional capacity to reach out to others, but I can do something for myself.
Hmm.
And so it's like, I'm going to stay in and be in my pajamas by 7 p.m. and watch a movie.
Hmm.
So, but I just stay motivated because I know life is multifaceted
Yeah.
and we have purpose in different relationships and purpose in our jobs. And even when you're changing jobs, it's like my my motto in life is bloom where you're planted. So, regardless of where you're at, even if you didn't choose to be there, even if this isn't where you want to be, you can still bloom in that place like dandelions. Like they
Hmm.
can bloom anywhere. They can bloom in the middle of a parking lot. And you're like, how
Yeah.
did you even do that?
Yeah.
And but so I just try to keep that mentality of anywhere that I'm at, I'm gonna do the best and I'm gonna look for purpose and I'm gonna look for meaning and I'm gonna try to be sunshine in someone's day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I just because the thing I asked you that because you have kids, you have a job, you have two bands, you work out with Laura, you you know what I mean? So you how do you stay how do you know what I mean? How do you do all that? Because a lot of guys they think, oh, they go to work and then they come home and they're like, oh yeah, I'm tired. But a lot of women have way more things to do. They gotta go to work, take care of the kids, cook, clean, do like there's so much to your guys's job or life
Mm-hmm.
that it's like you got to be motivated for something to wake up. So I wasn't sure how to ask the question, but that okay. So
Wait, wait, I want to say one more
yeah,
thing.
yeah, go
So,
ahead, go ahead.
um, I get my ambition from my dad. We're very much like, on one hand, we're like, more is always better. But we're
Hmm.
also like, okay, we know more is not always better. But always looking ahead to what is the next project? What is the next thing? Okay, I got that thing that I wanted. What do I want next? What do I want to keep striving for? And so it's like, I hope it's not just an overall lack of contentment because I'm very content with my life. I really like where my life is at right now.
Mm,
um, I just always want to do more and I always want to be more. I always want to find out what's the next best thing. Maybe I'm just addicted to dopamine and
mhm,
I just need to always have a rush. Maybe it's rooted in being the middle child and
mhm.
and needing to always stand out. I'm not sure what it is, but
Yeah.
I get it from my dad. So if it's a
Okay.
bad thing, you have to blame Rick Spitler.
Okay. Rick, you're in trouble. All right. So another thing I want to ask you, what's some advice for someone that's feeling stuck in life? You said you've been through a lot of things. You've been through breakups, friendships, lost friendships, divorce, parents' divorce. What is good advice for someone that's stuck in life?
If you're stuck, you have to change something. You might not know what it is, but you have to change something. If you're in a relationship that has been years and years of you feeling beat down and unappreciated, and you just feel like you're losing yourself every day, you have to get out of that relationship. Or um, if you are in a job that, same thing, you're unappreciated every day, you wake up dreading going in. Maybe you have to drink to be able to cope and deal with it. Or I know people who get high before work because they hate their job so much.
Mm,
It's like if you're in a spot that you dread your everyday, you have to change something,
mhm.
because otherwise you're just going to stay stuck.
Yeah,
Like think about like one of those sticky
like mousetrap.
yeah, like a mouse trap or like a bug trap. And if a bug gets stuck and it just stays there forever, it dies. And so if you're stuck, you have to make a decision and move in one direction. You might not know what direction is right,
Mm-hmm.
but you know that sitting still is not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah,
So you can take a step in this direction, or maybe a few steps, and you may realize, oh, that's not it. Then you reroute, but you've got
mhm,
to keep moving. Um, I have a friend who told me, my friend Cassie, told me this thing that was like mind blowing when I was having a really hard day. And she said, a hard day is a pit stop, it's not a parking spot. So if you're moving through life and things are getting really tough and you need to stop and grieve, or have a day that you do nothing, or whatever, or even a week, whatever it is, take that time, feel what you feel, process your emotions, but then keep going. Don't stay there. And I think a
mhm.
lot of people, when they go through hard times in their grief, they just stay in that spot
Yeah,
forever. But that's how we die. That's how we emotionally die. And that's how we lose ourselves. So we've got to keep going.
yeah. All right, keep going. That's very another car analogy right there. Don't stay parked in one spot. Keep going.
Yeah.
You're right, because you stay parked in one spot, you get in trouble. How about when the people that say, "Yeah, but there's no way out of this relationship. I don't have any money." Is there like support for people like that, or what? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I fortunately, when I went through my divorce, I was able to move in with my dad and live there for free for several months before I got my own place.
Mm,
Everyone doesn't have that. Some people don't have family that live close, or they don't have family that can accommodate them, or
mm,
um, are willing to. So I know, I don't really know specifically what those things are.
yeah.
I know that there's like women's shelters, but sometimes it's the men who need to get out,
Mm-hmm,
honestly. Um, so I would just say, if you're in a situation that you feel like there's no way out, start making baby steps. Maybe it means getting a part time job
mm,
and putting some money aside, or finding things you can do online. Get a TikTok that goes viral and start making money
mm-hmm,
off of that, like as if
mm-hmm,
it was so easy, right?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, just find a step.
Mm-hmm,
You know, nobody is going to say, if you're in a marriage and you've got four small kids at home and you're a mom who doesn't work, nobody's going to say, go ahead and just leave your husband tomorrow because he's
mm-hmm,
mean to you. Like, there's all these steps in between. It might mean going to counseling.
mm-hmm,
It might mean maybe your partner's not willing to go to counseling. And so you can go to counseling on your own and find ways to maybe impact your marriage.
mm-hmm,
Um, Sometimes one person going to counseling can actually affect how both people interact with each other. Or it might be, like I said, getting a part time job or
mm-hmm,
finding something, or it could mean, um, if you feel stuck and you've lost your purpose and you're in a bad relationship, saying, I'm going to find people on social media that I can connect with. And I'm going to start a community group of people going through similar things. Or
mm-hmm.
I'm going to start getting out with my friends once a month and having one night that I just get out of the house and I do things with other people. And so it's like there's always purpose. Sometimes we have to look for it, sometimes we have to create it.
Mm.
But we can't just stay stuck, or we're going to lose ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So it's basically kind of just like start taking the steps to get yourself out of it. Doesn't matter if you got to get a side job, maybe start talking to your parents about it, start talking about it to your friends, maybe like you said, even start a TikTok. You start talking about some of that relationship stuff, you might even go viral because there's people that are in big drama filled, relationships. And sometimes I see girls on TikTok, they'll talk about their relationship stuff and they start like blowing up. So
Hmm.
there's many different ways, but just like you said, start taking steps to get out of that situation. Don't just be stuck there.
Yeah, and I think like having meaningful relationships is a big part of it because my best friend, when she left a relationship, she moved into a friend's basement and she lived there for, I think, 4 or 5 months while she saved up money to get back on her feet. And I have a family member who came and stayed with me for like 4 months when she went through a breakup and she moved out of her boyfriend's house. And so it's like, you if you have meaningful relationships, people are willing to accommodate you temporarily. Not everybody can
Mm,
or will, but if you have a support system, you have people who are going to have your back.
yeah.
I know it's different when you're married, you have a house, you have kids. I That adds a lot of
Mm,
nuances, and but I think a lot of people just get in relationships and there's not really commitment. They just move in together and then they just feel stuck and they can't get out of it. And I want to be like, you don't have to stay
mhm.
there. It's hard and it's challenging and it's scary, but you can get out of it.
You can get out of it. You can get out of it and start a brand new life. Can you tell me a moment in your life where things shifted and you had to like start thinking completely different?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, I can. So this was probably 20 years ago. I was and I'm not sharing any of this to sway anyone politically. I'm just sharing my view and what I experienced.
Okay.
Um I was really involved in the church and I was very Republican and I was kind of told, if you're a Christian, these are the things that you have to believe about these topics, and this is how you vote. And I thought all Christians felt that way and thought that way. And I thought you had to be a Christian, like you had to meet these standards.
Mhm.
And there was a Christian artist that I loved, the band Caedmon's Call. They were big in the 90s. And one of their lead singers went off solo. His name was Derek Webb and he released an album called Mockingbird. And I didn't realize it was a political album. I had his worship album before that. So an album came out and I bought it. And he had a song on it that said, "There are two great lies that I've heard. The day you eat of the fruit of that tree, you will not surely die. And that Jesus Christ was a white middle class Republican. And if you want to be saved, you have to learn to be like him." And I'm getting chills as I'm saying it because I really did think, like, if you're a Christian, you have to act like a white middle class Republican. And
Mm,
I was trying to, dress how I was supposed to dress and think what I was supposed to think, and whatever they said the talking points were on these topics is like, yes, I just like ate it up. And that song opened my mind to, wait a second, you can be a Christian and not be a Republican.
mm,
And then I started kind of, well, the whole album is full of stuff like that that challenges Christians about who is your neighbor and how do you love your neighbor. Um, but then I started looking into, white Christians in America tend to be Republicans, but minorities tend to be Democrats. And why is that? And so I started looking into the history of, the political parties and all that kind of stuff. And different movements, and it just really opened my eyes to, I don't have to feel this way on these topics just
mm,
because I'm a Christian. Because I'm a Christian, I can feel this way on these topics. And so it really opened my mind to, instead of believing what I was taught I should believe, what do I actually believe?
mm,
What is my faith and my conviction actually lead me to think and believe about these topics and about
mm,
people? And so it totally shifted my entire worldview and it like changed my life, this album.
mhm. Wow. One album did all
It
that.
did. It
Wow,
did.
I didn't know. I was thought you were gonna talk about something like maybe like your divorce or,
No.
but one album shifted your whole view. And kind of like what you were talking about earlier, you're like listening to what they're saying, so you're molding yourself to become this, this Republican Christian or whatever. But then that one album sparked a whole different thinking, so where you're like, I can just love people and be myself, and
Mhm.
I don't have to follow just the status quo of this. I think that's really important because Jesus, when he came, he went to churches, he turned tables, he's like you said, he sat with all kinds of different people. The Pharisees came in and said, "Why are you sitting with these people?" And he said, "I'm here for the sick, not the healthy."
Yep. And if you look at the stories of the New Testament of the Bible, you don't see examples of Jesus yelling at sinners. He only yells at religious people.
Yes.
The religious people yelled at the sinners and condemned them and oppressed them. And the religious people thought that they were better than them.
Mhm.
And Jesus only rebuked the religious people, you
Yes.
know? And so I see religious people today
Mhm.
and they're like, you people, you sinners, and you're after our kids and you're this and you're that. And I'm like, Jesus wasn't rebuking them, he was rebuking you
Yeah.
guys. And so I'm just very passionate about love and compassion for the outcasts and the people that are rejected by the church today because that's what Jesus did. That
Yeah.
and I want to follow his example in loving those people.
I think you're doing a great job. And
Thank you.
he also said something like, you guys are washing your cups in your hands, but inside you guys are, dirty. Like your heart is not in the right place.
Mhm.
You're judging too many people. That's what we got to do less of, is
Mhm.
not judge nobody. Just go with love, care, and don't class nobody. Don't put nobody in certain boxes. Open your mind up to everybody. Look at everybody as your children.
Yeah.
I love everybody, like you're my sister, like that little kid right there, that's like my daughter, that's my son. If once you look at everyone with the mindset of a real like love, like that's my sister, that's my brother, that's my mom, that's my dad, because anybody could be that could you could really be my sister. That old lady could really be my mom if I was born in a different, so
Mhm.
we gotta be able to open our hearts to everybody.
Yeah. And in the book of James, which is my favorite book of the Bible, he says, with our mouths, we praise God, our Father,
Mhm.
and with it, we curse men who are made in his likeness, meaning men and women. And he says, this should not be. Blessing and cursing cannot come from the same mouth, and
Mhm.
he compares, trees bearing the wrong type of fruit and, a fresh spring producing salt water. Like this can't
Mhm.
be. And he's like, so how could we who praise God curse men who are made in God's image?
Yes.
And I'm like, but we do it all the
Yeah.
time. And so it's like we have to transform ourselves. We have to allow ourselves to be transformed and say, I'm not going to curse and condemn people just because they're different than me or because I don't understand them or their perspective or their experience.
Mhm.
I don't have to understand your experience to love and respect you. And so that's just kind of how my worldview has shifted because I used to be very much like, well, that doesn't make any sense and that's not right and everything is black and white and
Mhm.
you're over here and you should be over here. And I was very judgmental. And
Yeah.
that was part of the opinionated was I was judgmental and I just
Yeah.
thought my way was right. And now I'm like, your way's different than my way, but I don't have to live your life. So I don't have to judge where you're at. All I have to do is love you.
I love your perspective in life. I think
Thank
it's
you.
beautiful to look at the world like that. My wife, that's another thing. My wife is just like that. My wife loves everyone. She looks at everyone with that. And the what you said, how you said you were gonna raise your kids with empathy and love.
Mhm.
My wife does that with her daughter, and that's why I said like you, Laura, and my wife could do like a little workout together or something. I don't know, a date or something. Because
Girls' night out.
yeah, she always says I need more friends. I'm like, babe, you have so many friends. But yeah, we all need more friends.
Yeah.
Um, I think I want to ask you what your message for us all is. Like, this is the last question. Like, a message for all of us, for me, for whoever's watching, something that inspiring or
Mhm.
anything, and we can leave it at that.
Yeah. I'm going to look at the
Yeah.
camera when I say it. You have value and you deserve good things and you need to love yourself. I think so many times the reason we have this longing for a romantic relationship, us single people, is because we feel like we're not complete or we're not significant. And so we need somebody else to come in and choose us in order to feel significant and in order to feel whole. And we just want someone to cook for us and buy us flowers and think of us and do nice things for us. But we can do all of those things for ourselves. And so in my single journey, the past 8.5 years off and on, um, like honestly, the Miley song, I do buy myself flowers.
Mm,
Um, I do go out dancing. I get my nails done. I got a promotion a few years ago and I decided I'm going to start getting my nails done. I
mhm,
still dye my hair out of the box and I still am very frugal in a lot of ways, but that's my splurge.
mhm,
And it's like I'm going to do things to value myself. I would like for other people to value me, but even if they don't, it doesn't change my actual value. And so I'm going to love myself. I'm going to treat myself with kindness. The same kindness that I show to other people, I'm going to show that same kindness to myself. And so I just really think the most important relationship we have is the one that we have with ourselves. And we really have to love ourselves and treat ourselves the way we deserve.
that's awesome. That's great and great advice for everyone. Can you let everyone know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah. So I'm on Facebook as Ashley Spitler. You can just add me there. It's not like a like page. You can't like
Mhm.
my page. Um, or I'm on TikTok. It is Grow with Ashley. And I'm on Instagram, Grow with Ashley Nicole. So someone else already had Grow with Ashley,
Oh
apparently.
yeah, and I'll put all of those descriptions in the title, or not in the title, but in the description. I'll put all that in the description. And I want to thank you so much for coming over here, sitting down with me, and having a great conversation. I didn't know that we were going to talk about the Bible and Christian, because I thought we were just gonna Laura just said this. So I really thank you for talking to me a little bit about
Yeah.
the Bible and about Jesus. I really appreciate that, because we need. I I feel that I feel that a lot of times when we don't, like, have you ever heard people like, I don't talk about religion, I don't talk about politics, but that's why we're into the place where we're at right now,
100% agree.
because we don't talk about politics and we don't talk about God, and that's why a lot of this bad things are going on in this world. I think, I don't know.
I think that's why people don't know how to have healthy conversations because they're taught you don't talk about these things. So they keep it all bottled up and they only talk about it with people who agree with them. And so then you're in an echo chamber where you're only hearing what you think and you think, how could anyone possibly think that? That's so stupid. It doesn't make any
Mhm.
sense. Those people are idiots. And it just exacerbates this divide between us versus them. Where if we could sit down and have conversations with people where we don't agree on everything, but we could at least hear the other person out and understand their perspective and where they're coming from. Like, I think that we would find that we have more in common than we think we do.
Yes. Yep, we actually would. A lot of people don't understand, but I'm an immigrant, and there's people like Trump, and they hate immigrants, but when they meet me, they love me, and I'm like, well, guess what? I'm an immigrant. They're like, no, you're not, because once you meet the people, once you
Mhm.
talk to people, you get a whole different perspective about them.
Yeah, I know people who are trans and they have people in their circle who post pro Trump stuff and anti trans stuff,
Mm,
but they're nice to the person
yeah.
because somehow people can compartmentalize and say, well, I see this as an issue, but I see you as a person and
Mm,
I love you and I care about you,
yeah.
but I'm like voting against you. And I mean, it can go both
Both
ways,
ways.
that's just the example. And so it's like, I'm no longer viewing issues as issues. I'm viewing issues as groups of people who are real humans like you
Mm,
and like my friends, and being like, okay, if I was sitting across a table or across a couple chairs with
mm,
this person, would I feel this way about this topic? How would a conversation with this person change the way that I view this topic. And that's been really transformative in my growth as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you get on her page, like and subscribe on her channels. Um, Pretty soon, you'll probably see her on a podcast pretty soon. We're not sure yet, but we'll figure. We're going to
We
talk
are
about.
sure.
Yeah,
We're doing it.
yeah,
I just forgot to mention it
yeah.
earlier.
Well, you and Laura might start or are gonna start
We are
something.
starting a podcast.
Okay. So, but we're gonna save that for like, because maybe one day we can have both you guys here, and we'll talk about it when it launches and stuff like that. So stay in touch. Make sure you follow her. Make sure you follow Laura. That's one of her best friends. Um, Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, you subscribe, do all the stuff. Type in something, put an emoji, put a comment, ask her a question, something. I don't know. But if you comment, the algorithm picks it up. It'll send it out to more people. I appreciate you guys so much. Have faith, show love, give hope, let go, and let God. Thank you.